Streamers are in Japan. It seems like, again, I think nerdy people stream and nerdy people love Japan. So nerdy streamers come to Japan and they seem to think the way to get attention is to do dumb shit. Now, these are two very big streamers. So that already is like, why do you need to behave this way? You could just do normal shit and your fans would eat it up. This isn't like a Johnny Somali level stuff where they're trying to get in trouble. I think these guys were just basically ignorant and then behaved anyway. So Mitskif, I don't actually know if I'm saying that right. I've seen it. He's big enough. I've seen him. So that's actually it. Like if you are a streamer and I kind of know your name, you must be huge. And Tokyo Sims, who I've seen on TikTok and stuff, they have come under fire. How bad is it? Well, I don't know. I'm a little torn. And I think I'm torn because I think what they did was bad, but then the response was bad. And so if they had done something bad and then the response was good, I think you just forget about it. Because of the way they handled it, it became news. So it was primarily Mitsuki because he's the bigger streamer. They were out in Tokyo and they're like, what we'll do is have a good time. And I'm going to go ahead and guess there was some alcohol involved and they're out with the cherry trees. This is cherry blossom season. It's a very important time. People sit out under the cherry blossoms and they drink and they have a good time. And it's a very important part of Japanese culture. They have predictions as to when the cherry blossoms will come out. They have guides on the best places to go. Like this is a big deal in Japan. They're out. Again, I'm going to go ahead and give them the benefit of the doubt and say that alcohol, they were inebriated and that impacted the logic circuits in their brain. And they thought, let's show off how strong we are. I'm going to jump up and grab some branches and do some chin-ups. And then it's like, well, if you've done that, I have to take it a step further. I'm going to jump up, grab some branches, and then swing my legs up so that I do sort of a flip. So the immediate title of one of the articles I read was Mitskif and Tokyo Sims doing flips on Japanese cherry trees draws fire, whatever the title was. It seemed weird because it was like doing flips on it, but they're hanging off it and then trying to flip their way off it. The conversation is, did they intend to be disrespectful? And I think they did not, if I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, because they were just like doing stuff to have fun. I don't think they really realized what they were doing. But then, of course, people were like, that's disrespectful. You shouldn't do that. And how do they handle it? Well, the way they tried to handle this was they just tried to delete the video. So they were trying to pretend that this never happened. And then, of course, people saved those clips. They were on VODs or what. I assume there's a group of people out there who just like download everything someone who's vaguely popular does so they can get them in trouble later if they try to delete it or hide something. Didn't work out. So people started immediately re-uploading the videos that they were trying to hide, try to suppress, try to delete. Shibuya Kaho came on and she gave her opinion. Now, she is also a big streamer, being based in Tokyo, being Japanese, who speaks English and having a background that has made her popular in certain circles. She garners a lot of attention immediately. And she has said, this was disrespectful and you should not have done this. Now, she's saying, if you want to flex your muscles to show how much testosterone you have, go touch your own wood. Now that, perfect. I mean, I don't think you could phrase it better. It's like, if you want to behave this way, just go take care of yourself. Mitskif took personal offense at this. Now, this was a bad move. He sent some angry messages to her on Discord, which he then immediately tried to delete. Of course, she screenshotted them because she's a very smart woman. And then she used that to show like, this is how they're behaving. I think what's actually happened here is he didn't intend to be disrespectful, but they tried to be edgy. And then everyone came back and said like, don't be edgy. That's not cool. And then he's like, okay, I'll just pretend this didn't happen. But then it comes out. And then someone who else is famous comes out and says, the way you behave was poorly. And he's like, why are you calling more attention to this? Why are you giving me a hard time? This isn't fair. But he hasn't owned up to it. Now.
Are you shitting on him? Because he sent me a personal message. Yeah, shitting on me. Yes, that's why. And it's all about me. There are like 3 me in 3 sentences. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, so your community actually reflects you. Wow. I was like, I was shocked. And he actually deleted that comment later on from like a Discord. Yeah, but of course I screenshot it as evidence. Yeah. You shouldn't be, Kaho. Our community is the best. Oh, thank you. Well, you're one of the best. Yeah, it's like so disappointing. I got so personally disappointed. Up until that point, I thought like, you know what? He didn't know, or they didn't know. I mean, it's not about this one guy. They didn't know. Of course, they can always excuse it. I was gonna, help them have the opportunity to explain themselves, even to the Japanese community and the English community. And they were like, oh, yeah, really rude response. Really rude. And they were explaining me in 3 sentences. And there was no period in the sentence. That really, my OCD just like freaked out. Yeah.
Now I have the Johnny Somali counts on me. You don't realize what you've done to me. Please leave me alone. And then she said, what the fuck? What did I say? It's not about you. Because this is not about him. It's about behavior. It's about people coming to Japan. It's about being respectful. Of course, after that, he realizes he's caught. So once you're caught, then you have to issue the apology to show how mature you are. And if you had just done this initially, instead of all this other bullshit, like trying to delete the videos, just own up to it and not trying to call people out, like, why are you calling attention to this on me? I think this actually would have gone away really quickly. Mitskif issued a response saying, the moment I was informed by a friend on the severity of the situation, I immediately deleted the post and regretted my decision. I think the reality is he was told this is going to get you in trouble. This makes you look bad. So he deleted it. And it's not, I think he regretted his decision to do it because it got him in trouble, because it wasn't going to get him the kind of attention that he's trying to garner as a popular streamer. I've grown a lot here as a person. I bet that's debatable. I mean, if we're being really honest, I bet that in itself is debatable. People like this don't grow. I think you're living in a bubble, and in that bubble, it is very difficult to actually grow as a person. You need people telling you you're a piece of shit. You need people guiding you to be a better person. You need to be in a situation where you can be taught and be open to being taught to actually grow as a person. I think that's something that people in bubbles don't do. Like, it's like the Hitler argument. Everything always goes to Elon Musk right now, but my feeling is like Elon Musk is not going to learn anything. He's just going to get worse because he's being the richest man in the world. He lives in a situation where everyone around him will tell him what he's doing is good and great. And whenever he hits any sort of adversity, he really struggles because he doesn't know what that's like anymore. This is the same thing on a smaller scale. He's a popular streamer. He's surrounded himself with people who are going to encourage him to do the stuff to get the views. He's not going to realize it's bad because he doesn't have anyone telling him, dude, you're a fucking idiot. Don't do that. He's not going to have someone who slap him in the back of the head and say, don't climb the fucking tree, because that's going to disrespect the culture that you're, residing in at the moment. Anyways, back to his apology. I've grown a lot here as a person. I've made so many friends that I truly value and have experienced so much of the Japanese culture that has changed my life for the better. Maybe. I do not want to promote my actions as proper. They were wrong and should have been seen as such. So you should have said that immediately, like right away, not sent other people like messages like, hey, why are you giving me a hard time over this thing? Why are you drawing attention to me? He advised his viewers who may be considering a trip to Japan not to repeat his mistakes. Cherry blossoms are sacred to the Japanese culture and are extremely delicate. I'm okay with the criticism and understand it was wrong. So that's all debatable. If you've listened to Ninja News Japan for any length of time, you have heard 1,000 apologies, and you've heard me analyze 1,000 apologies as what is sincere about them or not. I think this is exactly the same. I think the only thing he's unhappy about is that he got caught. The only thing he's unhappy about is that he's in trouble. And that's the only reason he would change his behavior. So, but there is always the opportunity that this actually does have an impact. They always do something. But what we've seen is a multitude of streamers come to Asia, come to Japan. There was that dude in the Philippines who just got arrested. Johnny Somali's in court in South Korea. And they come here and behave badly because they think they can get away with it. And now that they're not getting away with it, and now that people are now getting a little stricter, saying like, look, this behavior is unacceptable, we're going to call you out on it, they get upset and then they apologize because they realize they're not going to get away with it. Yakuza numbers in Japan have dropped below 20,000 people for the first time. So this year, at the end of 2024, there were 18,800 Yakuza members. Arrests, there were 8,249 arrests last year. That's down 1,300 because there's less people to arrest. The numbers are interesting. So the Yamaguchi-gumi, which is the biggest Yakuza organization in Japan, they are down 500 to 6,900 members. The Sumiyoshi Kai is down 300 members to 3,200. The Inagawa Kai is down 100 members to 2,800 members. This has been a constant decline from 1963. And the reason this is happening is because the organized nature of the Yakuza, any organized crime really, is such that they're easy to track. I think that is going to be the biggest problem because the police know who you are. They know who your associates are. They know what kind of stuff you do. They followed your whole life as you've become a Yakuza. Of course, it's not going to last forever. So they sort of lost their power. My complaint over the last couple of years of covering any Yakuza related story is the absolute loss of glamour that the Yakuza lifestyle seems to have. Because I remember the 80s. And in the 80s, every bad guy organization was the Yakuza. And they were like international. They were gun smuggling, human trafficking. They were doing drugs. They were just, everything was on the table. And these were like super rich dudes. And they had like hundreds of men who would gunfight for them. Now all the stories are like, they stole 10 cell phones. The last one I did was they blocked off a street and tried to charge the locals 10,000 yen to use it. Like, these are not the glamorous Yakuza of yesterday. The ones that sort of would have captured my imagination. These seem like sadder, older organizations just clamoring for anything they have left over. What's actually sprouted up in their place, though, from organized crime is disorganized crime. So it's these groups that are loosely affiliated. They meet online. They try to recruit members online. They'll organize for one job and then rob someone and then disappear, spreading out, finding another job, that kind of thing. So it seems like disorganized crime is actually replacing organized crime in Japan. From September 2028, gas pedals in Japan. I actually just, for a moment, we got to stop calling them gas pedals. Or if all cars go electric, which is one of the predictions, is that eventually all cars will go electric. They're not going to be gas pedals. You'll have to use the term accelerator because it's not going to be a gas pedal anymore. But anyways, gas pedals in Japan will have mandatory safety devices attached to them. This is because of the elderly drivers' accidents, which have been increasing, where they accidentally push the accelerator and drive into a building or a group of people. This actually happened last week. Elderly drivers outnumber gun deaths. Of course. Elderly driver accidents outnumber gun deaths because there are so few guns in Japan. So if you want to know if gun control is a good thing, that's a great stat to have, that your old drivers are killing more people than guns. Now they're looking at accidents with old people. I'm like, how can we reduce these numbers? So they're going to put a safety device on the gas pedal. That means if there is an obstacle that is 1 meter to 1.5 meter ahead, the speed will be kept to below 8 kilometers. So it means if you jam the accelerator and there's someone standing 1 meter in front of your car, it will not increase to over 8 kilometers an hour. This will lead to some very amusing slow motion accidents. Because if you don't run out of the way of the car in time, let's say it's a electric car, it is dead silent, it is creeping towards you, it's going to nudge you sort of gently. And I actually still, if it was another old person, they might fall under it. There might still be accidents with this, but at least this will reduce the amount of actual injuries that occur because of this. There was a fan of an Avex idol, and he said, I'm going to come to your event. He sent an email saying, go die. And then, this isn't just a threat. I'm going to come kill you. So basically he was saying, I'm going to kill you if you have these events. I'm going to show up these events. This is not a threat. I'm really going to do it. He was very easily caught and arrested. She had to cancel 3 events. So because she was worried that this guy was actually going to show up and do something, she actually canceled 2 events in Osaka and 1 somewhere else. This then becomes obstruction of business, which is something that I had a counter for and then went away because we weren't getting any obstruction of business ones anymore. But thankfully they're back because that is a Ninja News Japan mainstay, the obstruction of business as an excuse to arrest anybody for anything, and threats. So the threats is a separate charge. So he gets 2 charges this way because he caused her to lose money, to interrupt her business of putting on concerts because of the threats. That's one charge. The second charge is actually threatening her with death. When he was arrested, he said, I thought she was cute. And it's just one of those things where it's like, well, you're clearly not very, you don't got a lot of riz, is I think what the kids say nowadays. If you think that the way to get someone's attention when you think they're cute is to say, go die. He did say further, I wanted her to know how hurt I was. Now, they don't explain how or why he was hurt. He may have gotten to this point where he was deluded. Like, he had followed her so long, he'd sent her messages or something. She probably ignored them because she doesn't manage her own social media. He got angry because he wasn't getting the attention he thought he deserved. This is all speculation, but it also fits into a very natural pattern of behavior that happens with these kind of people. They create the parasocial relationship in their head with this person they've never actually met or talked to. They think they're now owed something. They start to get hurt because they're not getting the attention back because of what their beliefs, which are very one-sided, because the other person doesn't know they exist. And then they lose the plot and they go threaten people with death, and then they get arrested. Cocaine use has significantly increased in Japan, which is a big surprise to me because we only ever hear about marijuana, really, because marijuana is still like considered one of the worst drugs ever. All the drugs in Japan are considered the same. So, in North America, like marijuana is not that bad. Cocaine and heroin are much worse. Like they have different classifications for the different drugs. This in Japan is not the case. All drugs are bad. All drugs are exactly the same. Any drug you have that is not legal is terrible. So the increase of cocaine in Japan is a surprise to me, only because it's got to be super expensive. But what the police said was very interesting. There were 231.8 kilograms seized last year. That's 5 times more than previous years. 586 arrests for cocaine-related crimes. So this could be like selling cocaine, getting cocaine, possession of cocaine, trafficking cocaine, anything that have like connected to it. 586 arrests for cocaine-related crimes last year. That's up from 214, so it's more than doubled. 7 times more arrests over the last 10 years. The National Police Association said many people use it as a fashion statement. So they're not saying people are using cocaine to get high so much as they're using cocaine to look cool. 73-year-old American man came to Japan and his statement was, I accidentally put a gun in my luggage. Now, I cannot think of a more American statement than I accidentally packed a gun. Like, how many guns do you have around you where you are, packing your t-shirts and your underwear in your bag and a gun just drops in off the shelf? Because let's face it, there's guns everywhere around your house. It seems to me, okay, so you want to talk about responsible gun ownership. If you accidentally pack a gun, you're not a responsible gun owner. That's actually, to me, one of the number one. Like, you can't say you're a responsible gun owner and accidentally do anything with a gun. Like an accidental discharge, you're not a responsible gun owner. Accidentally putting one in your bag and taking it with you to another country, not a responsible gun owner. I accidentally put the gun in my luggage when traveling to Japan. And 3 bullets. It's a very small gun. It's a little revolver. Maybe it only can hold 3 bullets. It seemed like one of those ones you would put in your sock if in a police movie. He decided the best course of action would be to throw away the bullets. The bullets were found at a port terminal, and the police, because one of the problems, okay, so this is the actual problem, is a lot of garbage is burnable in Japan. So if you put bullets in burnable garbage and that goes into the facility, it might actually go off when it's heated because it's being burned and shoot someone. It could be weeks later, but this is actually a real possibility of like a CSI style murder where they try to figure out how this guy in this facility got killed. And it turns out it's from a bullet that was in the incinerator. And then they have to find out where that garbage came from. It's actually a pretty good episode that I just wrote there. So he realized while he was already in Japan, which actually means he managed to get into Japan with a bag with a gun in it. Now, he was on cruises and stuff, so I'm actually thinking maybe because they spend time on the boat and they've kind of checked everything before the boat, or maybe they check when they get on the boat, they don't check so closely when they get off the boat. So that's my suspicion. I don't know if that's true. That cannot be confirmed, but it seems like the most logical thing, because it seems like if they x-rayed the bag and there's a gun-shaped thing in it, the Japanese police would absolutely check that bag. He kind of does the right thing. He says, I was thinking where to declare it, and then because he wanted to make sure that he didn't get misinterpreted. He wanted to make sure they had sort of the English skills. He didn't want to like come in and say, I have a gun and then get arrested himself. So he went from Kobe to Osaka. This is, again, he's spending days in Japan with this gun in his bag, and he goes and declares it to the police. Now, unlike Mitskiff from our first story, this is the right thing. So he's made a mistake. He's brought a gun into Japan. He knows guns are illegal in Japan. So he's like, I need to tell someone. Now, he took a couple days, and that could be a little like, is this okay? Have you done the right thing? But he's like, I just don't want to make it worse. So I'm thinking he has the right intention. He goes to the police. He says, I have a gun. I'd like to turn the gun in. He turns the gun in. He tells them, I had bullets. I threw the bullets away here. The police go to that place. Luckily, the bullets are still in that garbage can and they recover the bullets. Then everyone's like, this is going to be a terrible thing. I actually was like, okay, he went to the police. He told them he made a mistake. He made it very clear. He did everything in a relatively safe. Throwing the bullets away was a bad idea, but he brought the gun to them and he made sure that they understood he had no negative intentions. He didn't plan to shoot anybody. He just accidentally packed a gun, which again, the most American thing you could do in the world is accidentally pack a gun. A couple days later, charges are dropped. And I think this is because the police, the prosecutors are like, look, he made a mistake. He did a bad thing, but he immediately owned up to it. He brought us the gun. He's not trying to make any trouble. I think this is fair. We're just going to let him go. He probably just left the country the next day, which again is almost the exact opposite of how Mitskiff handled his issue, where he did a bad thing, tried to scrub it, tried to make sure no one knew about it, called people out for calling him out on it, and then apologized afterwards. If he had just immediately owned up to it, like this American who had made a mistake, charges dropped and you're on your way. 27-year-old assembly member called for menstrual products to be made available in public restrooms. And I, as a non-menstruating person, think this is fine. If you need that, I think it should be made available to you. I think she was calling for them to be free. I could understand if you wanted to charge like 100 yen, you have to put it in the machine and pop one out. But I actually think my taxes are going to this. If women need it in the bathrooms to make it free, I'm on board. So there you go. That's Ninja News Japan's stance on that. Someone else, on the other hand, took issue with this, with women having things they need being made available to them. And they sent 8,000 threatening emails, including death threats. Now, the very weird thing was they sent one every minute between 8 p.m. Friday to 3:50 p.m. Monday, which would imply that these death threats were automated, because no individual is going to stay up for 3 days straight and sending an email every minute. So some sort of AI had to write the program. He had some kind of script to send out the email, and he just set it to go every minute. Because if you look at the statements that I read, it was 8,000 threatening emails, including death threats, which meant not all the emails were exactly the same. So yeah, I'm thinking AI wrote a bunch of emails and then he had a script to just send the emails every minute on the minute. So this assembly member actually posted this on X, and the statement was, I was caught off guard by my period and was in trouble. There were no sanitary napkins in the restroom of City Hall. I hope pads can be provided like toilet paper. That is the thing that set off someone to declare that this person should die. And I can't fathom why this was so offensive. I actually believe it's just the fact that someone mentioned menstruation publicly and wasn't like deeply engrossed out by it. I don't know. Like, I actually don't know what was so deeply offensive to this person. So there's not been any talk of an arrest yet. So I'm very interested in the arrest and the statement of the person as to why this statement was so offensive to them in the first place. Because honestly, that statement itself was, I had a problem, went to the toilet, the things I needed weren't available. I think they should maybe be available in the future. Certainly in City Hall. If you have employees, so like assembly members who are both male and female, they should have all the things they need to take care of themselves at their place of work at City Hall. It's a public building, so it should be provided for the public. That makes a lot of sense. I really, really am interested to see what this person's justification was for sending 8,000 threatening emails because someone thought someone should have the stuff they needed. My sentence just fell apart at the end because someone said they would like the city to provide for them. I don't know. I just have to finish one more sentence, then I'm done, and then I'm gonna play RoboCop. Dave hurt his leg this morning, and it has meant I am kind of distracted. So he fell over. He wasn't able to use his back leg. Freaks me out. You know, Dave's like easily the person I spend the most time with in my life. So it really had a surprisingly large impact on me. And it's just resting in the back of my head. And it's made it really hard for me to formulate a sentence, apparently. Women should have sanitary pads in the bathrooms. I think that is just a pretty fair and easy statement to make. It's a pretty fair stance to take in. See, I can't do it. I'm not even trying to say anything like offensive. I'm saying like chicks should have what they need. What's the most misogynistic way I could say that? You know, chicks should have the shit they need. It's like the redneck who says like liberal things. There's a meme. It's not, they don't do it anymore. I actually really enjoyed that one. It was the redneck saying like really liberal stuff in the most rednecky way possible. He's on the bed over there. He's been lying down all day. I gave him like a 1 hour massage on his leg. So I think he's fine. He's able to put his foot down again. But last sentence. I would like to know what was so deeply offensive about the statement. Was it menstruation, or was it the fact that the city should provide sanitary pads? Because then you could complain about your tax dollars, which I think you could take a stance on. It'd be pretty hard to justify, but I think that would be more justifiable than be offended by the fact that 50% of the population actually has this thing they have to deal with every month.